think about that for a minute. If I said to you, how many of you came here and did not speed? Did not speed? Okay, why didn't you speed? If you said to me, okay, if you said to me, I'll get into trouble if I speed, that puts you at the lowest level of moral reasoning. In her classroom, that puts you on the left continuum, right? If you had said, well, you won't get a reward for not speeding, so that cuts that one out. If you said, people will appreciate the fact that I don't speed, that puts you a little higher. If you were actually conscious of the impact that speeding might have on others, the unreasonable impact it might have on others, e.g. your family or other people's family, and you don't speed because you know it's the right thing to do because really it is unfair to other people if you're to speed because the risks associated with that are enormous, then you're much higher. I don't speed because I have 3 points. And I need my licence, yeah? So I acknowledge I'm at the lowest level. Someone did a bad job on me, and I'm not taking responsibility. If I had to think about it every day, I'd be really concerned, but I try to block it out. But these teachers are making these kids confront every day how responsible they really are, and I think it's brilliant. And we should. Because if you really believe people have rights, you should try and protect them. And now, if I can show you what I protect them, which doesn't make you a policeman in particular, for example, if I knew and understood that the kid who's giving most problem in that class is least ability to read, then just by helping that kid do the work, I would be ensuring his rights are protected. So if I could have kids understand that, and I could come up with a way that they could assist other people to learn or reduce the perceived threat in the learning, that would be a brilliant thing to do. That would make them responsible. And the reason is because they have a right to maximise their learning. Yeah?
How likely do you think that people will do the communal responsibility thing when they see it as, if I do your thing, I'm not going to have time to learn myself because I'm so busy trying to get up. Do you think they're going to go for this?
I don't know. It's a good question. You're going to tell me in 3 years because I don't know. I know already that even the gifted kids I used to teach in physics, if I gave, well, not in physics, let's say science, junior science, year 8, 9, if I gave them extra work because I was so gifted, this was some sort of punishment. They didn't want to do extra work. So I don't know how they're going to view this idea that, look, it's almost your responsibility, if not your responsibility, to see that everyone's rights are protected. And if this kid's having trouble maximising his learning and you can do something about it, e.g. share your equipment or share your mind, why not? I don't know if it'll sell.
Because it's very, very difficult for young kids to have the communal responsibility because they often may be seen as dogging, may be seen as being weak, may be...
That's right.
So there's a whole lot of things...
We are teaching the opposite. You can go further. You can say that we are undermining the whole concept. The minute we pretend that we are in charge of everybody, and that's probably everyone in this room is a bit that way, even if we orchestrate the group meeting, you know, I've been through that, and they know that they'll do whatever you want, and so they'll do what you want. You know, primaries have class meetings, and they let the groups decide things because they know they're going to come up with good things. I did that once with a year 10, I wouldn't recommend it. The first thing they decided, by the way, which is really cute because I'd done 6 months of being very assertive, this was a sabbatical, I taught them 6 months in a quite assertive style, and then I was going to do 6 months in a group process, decision-making style. So we had our first meeting, and this means that they now have the power to make whatever decision they want. What was their first decision? I should be in charge. Now, I hadn't read that in any theorist's book ever. It went totally against everything that was supposed to happen. I couldn't do that because that wasn't my experiment, was it? So I had to say, no, I'm going to force you to become empowered. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense, but that's what I did. So here the same. We are actually saying, be obedient to me. I'm a nice person. Be obedient to me. I'll look after you. You don't have to take ownership of this. Now, we don't do that so much in primary at all. We do talk there about values, care, compassion, all that sort of stuff. You know, you can do it, habits of mind, whatever the system is. We actually do some of this commitment stuff. Secondaries, we rarely do it. So the issue is we're going to have to undo in secondaries a lot of what we've done. And I don't know if it's possible. So if you break in year 8 or year 10 and try this, may work, may not. I've done it. for a year, but I don't know how long it would last. So you have to... That's what I'm interested in, by the way. That's my research. You are my research, which is fantastic. I mean, it's because you're more creative than I can possibly be. But if I give you the principles, you might be able to see a really clever way of getting it across. But this is the principle. It's not enough for people to be obedient, for all the right reasons even. They've got to be committed to values. Those two are enough. You know, you can't forget two things. I walk sometimes and you've got 15 values and I think, who are we kidding? Even I can't remember them. But I've interviewed preppies in some classrooms. It's cute. They've got these on the wall and I say, can you do anything you like in this room? He says, oh no. Why not? Oh, you've got to be safe. Okay, good. Is there anything else? No. And I thought, what happened to learning? You know? Sort of just disappeared in that. But some of them will say, you know, you learn. And they don't necessarily know what it means, but they've got the jargon already in prep. They're starting to understand it. So what would happen 4 years later? That's the question. Technically, it could be possible, but we'd have to undo a lot of work because we've relied on coercive power, legitimate power, and we're moving to really an understanding and a different kind of power, expert power, kind of relationship-based. So that's your job in a way. So, and it's experimental really because no one's doing a lot of it. But that's where I'm coming from. Now, in terms of my research, I ask questions like this. A whole bunch of questions. Don't write them down. You're going to get this stuff on the web, so don't worry about it. I asked a stack of questions on a questionnaire to a whole bunch of people, 42 schools initially, then another 15, then another 8, and it just goes on and on. And you can see how the questions were meant to pick up these sort of ideas. These were these secondary questions. And of course, to establish the instrument, you've got to show that the answer to one question relates to the answer to the other, that the questions can be structurally separated and all that stuff. And I've done all that and it's all published, so you've got access to all of this stuff. So in terms of physical safety, there's those two. In terms of learning, I had things like that and like that. So that just sort of exemplifies what we're talking about in the research. And what I'm going to show you now primarily comes from 3 samples. Israel, China, Australia. Now, when I first published this, it was really cute. What happened was that I got a daughter living in Israel. Actually, I've got 2 of them. So I went over there to visit one of them, and I met an Israeli academic, and I thought, we'll replicate. Gives me a good excuse to visit my... I hope this thing's not on. A good excuse to visit my daughter, you know, and the university will encourage me to go there. So I did it, and while I was there was a visiting Chinese academic. So we thought, oh, let's do all 3 countries, why not? We can help people publish, because they don't write very well in English, so it was good for them. Okay, put it into a journal and say, why these 3 countries? What are you going to say, you know? So, being creative, we said, well, you know, Australian is a typically Western democratic society. China is an Occidental sort of communal kind of experience, and Israel's somewhere in the middle. And they said, yeah, that sounds good. So we reinvented everything, but that's what we've done. And we've got some really interesting findings, and they do reflect on culture.